Edward, thanks ever so much for joining us today. As a director of Middlesex Cricket, you've agreed to talk to us in support of our campaign for equality and respect for LGBTQ plus people, which is a subject I know you feel really strongly about. How did the campaign come together?
Well, Middlesex has been supporting the Stonewall Rainbow Laces project for 3 seasons now, and this would have been our 4th. But with the prospect of no or limited play this season, Richard Goatley, our chief executive, came to me and said that he would really like to do more to foreground pride and the rights of LGBTQ people. And yeah, I supported that, and I'm delighted that we're doing it.
As a professional sports club, we've obviously got a large public profile and following. How important do you think it is that clubs like us and others out there play a leading role in helping to raise awareness on these matters and others that other clubs believe in?
Well, look, I mean, it's incredibly important because of the reach that we have, the audience that we have, the ability to talk to people that organisations like Stonewall might not reach otherwise. So communicating through sport, as has been done with football and rugby and many other sports, it's a great way of getting a broader understanding of issues like LGBTQ rights, but also about the rights of other oppressed and marginalised groups in society.
Absolutely. Focusing on wider society first, Edward, why do you personally feel there's a significant lack of equality and respect for LGBTQ people, and how can we change society's views and, I guess more importantly, their actions on the matter?
Well, I think we've got to be fair. We live in a very good society for LGBTQ people generally. So there is essentially full legal equality. There's very little legislation now that needs to change. But it's actually about winning over people's hearts and minds. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to understand that people fear difference. They're scared of the unknown. And in many cases, if you've never met people who are lesbian, gay, bi or trans, and you haven't lived through their experiences, then you might be a little bit frightened about that. So part of the reason for doing exercises like this, for working with Middlesex Cricket, it's to enable the members of the club and our broader supporter group to understand what it is that LGBTQ people are facing in their lives.
We're in the midst of Pride Month, Edward, at the moment. I know you've personally played an active role in that movement for many years, and a couple of weeks ago you were, I guess, lucky enough to raise the Pride Rainbow flag above Guildhall in London. As someone who passionately supports this, you must have been pretty proud, and that must have been quite a moment.
Well, I've been a City of London councillor for 19 years now, and it wasn't a good place for people who are gay or bi or trans when I was first elected back in 2001. But we've seen society move on, we've seen the city move on. So this was the 4th year that the Pride flag has been raised over Guildhall. Usually we'd have a bit of a party and there'd be quite a lot of people in Guildhall yard watching, but this year it was me, because I lead on inclusion for the City of London, and the co-chairs of our staff LGBTQ network, who joined me on the roof of Guildhall to fly the flag.
The joys of coronavirus spoiling the fun again. So your website, Edward, features pictures of you right at the front of the London Pride March in recent years. And I know in 2016 you were on the main stage at London Pride speaking. You must be enormously disappointed that the COVID-19 pandemic has led to the cancellation of the marches this year. I mean, the marches are fundamentally a really good focal point for raising awareness on this subject, and yet coronavirus has taken that opportunity away.
Yeah, it has, and it is disappointing, because not least for those many thousands of volunteers who contribute huge amounts of time to put the Pride events together, not just in London, but around the country. But what has been great is just seeing the different ways that people have been celebrating Pride this year anyway. There have been parties on Zoom, there have been socially distanced gatherings in people's gardens. People have been cycling round the Pride March route just to be present and to celebrate that. So yes, it's disappointing that the march didn't take place, but people have still been celebrating Pride.
Terrific, good to hear. Edward, as an elected politician, you have a focus in your day-to-day role on diversity and inclusion. What more do you think can be done at government level to help raise awareness of these issues of equality and inclusion for LGBTQ plus people?
Well, look, the most important thing at the moment is actually not allowing things to be thrown into reverse. And the thing that makes me frightened at the moment is the moral panic that there is in certain bits of the media around trans rights, and the risk that the government may reverse the position that it took, that it was going to improve the legislation that provides trans people the right to be recognised and to have their full legal status. And that's a real question mark at the moment. So my concern and my hope is that the government won't reverse its original promise to help trans people.
Okay, an important matter. Now, Edward, if I may, I'd like to ask you about your own journey. You're a trustee of the LGBT Foundation. You're at the heart of the British establishment. You've served in 2 major political parties. You're active in the City of London. You have directorship roles in numerous leading sports bodies and clubs. You identify as both bi and non-binary, and I know you yourself have faced discrimination and marginalisation in the past as a result of that. Has that helped fuel and driven your passion to campaign for equality and acceptance?
And it has, but not just for LGBTQ people. I think that my own life experience has enabled me to understand the diversity of our different communities. And certainly in the last few weeks, as we've seen the explosion of reaction to George Floyd's death in Minneapolis, and the Black Lives Matter movement here and around the world, I hope that actually my own difference, my own diversity, has given me an empathy and an understanding and a real commitment to supporting those movements as they seek change and equality and a move away from oppression and marginalisation.
Whilst this is far from a problem just in the sporting environment, Edward, it does almost seem unfathomable that so few sports people have actually come out and had the confidence to publicly declare their own sexuality. In your current role as one of our directors, how much more can we as a club do to help sports people feel confident in making those difficult decisions?
Well, I think the important thing is for us to provide a supportive environment and to allow people to be their authentic selves and to bring that to the dressing room, to bring it to the pitch, and to be comfortable in who they are. Because there's a whole weight of evidence that shows that if you can be your authentic self, then actually you end up being able to perform better. And that's in any work environment. That certainly includes sport.
Interesting. You've worked closely with the charity Stonewall. You mentioned them earlier. They're responsible for the Rainbow Laces campaign, and you still have close ties to that charity and that organisation. They continue to do a huge amount of work for people in the LGBTQ field. How would you sum up the work they do, and what help can they offer to people that are struggling to cope with their sexuality?
Well, Stonewall do an enormous amount of work, but then so do many LGBTQ charities, and we've got the details of several of them on the Middlesex Cricket website at the moment. Stonewall has made a particular focus, as well as the advocacy work and the work that it does in Parliament, but working with employers and working with schools to make sure that they are in a position to support their own LGBTQ staff or their pupils or students. And I think that's a great thing for them to do. And certainly deserves all our support.
Absolutely. Well, look, Edward, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to us today. It's a subject we at Middlesex feel very strongly about, and hopefully, thanks to you sharing your thoughts and experiences on the matter, we may have helped make a slight difference moving forwards.
It's a great pleasure, Fletcher. I'm glad to have done it.
Thank you.